The eternal off-road obstacle. What does it take to get over a bigger rock? Today on Performance TV, we tackle the issue from two different directions. From below with new suspension and above with increased horsepower. This and more coming up next.
Welcome to another edition of Performance TV, Tommy. We're always about finding ways to make things perform better. And you and I are both racers. We know that in our cars or whatever we've raced, we can find a weak link very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a race car. Anything you get in and try to perform in, you're going to find the weakest link. If it's a side-by-side or whatever it is, you want it to run better, do better, and perform better. So we've got Nate here from Zebros Racing. You guys have been involved in snowmobiles and the side-by-sides on off-road vehicles for a long time, and you've come up with some neat ideas for these side-by-sides.
Yeah, side-by-side market's growing exponentially right now. And, you know, as we've been out there on the trail and riding around, we found that there's weak links in the Polaris RZR 900, which is the car that we're working on today. And we've got some products here that allow us to run a bigger tire and wheel and increase ground clearance and basically make the car perform better when you're off-road.
Right, you can go out in off-road, get it into some rocks, give it more ground clearance, let the stuff get under the vehicle, be able to get over more stuff, and this stuff is pretty beefy. I mean, if you do happen to hit a rock, on a stock bar, you might break it or bend it. The stuff that you've got here, you're not going to bend or break.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everything is hand TIG welded and it's built from high quality steel material. Some of it's DOM, some of it's chromoly, depending on the application. Gives you basically peace of mind. So when you're out there on the trail and you're 20 miles from home or 50 miles from home, you know, you don't have to worry about being broke down because the last thing you want to do is walk back.
Exactly, and from what I'm understanding about what you've put together here, we're not going to be getting out stuff and cutting this thing up.
No, absolutely. All this stuff is bolt-on. It can be done in somebody's garage with a few jack stands and some hand tools. It all just simply unbolts the stock components, and these components bolt right back on. They're powder-coated the same color as the factory, so they look good. Everything matches the vehicle. If somebody wants a custom color, they let us know, and we can powder-coat it that color as well.
Perfect. I like it. It's bolt-on. I mean, there's no fabrication. You guys take care of all the fabrication. All we got to do is bolt this stuff on the vehicle. Kathy, you've got A-arms you're going to put on here.
That's right.
We're going to raise the ground clearance 3 inches, basically. And you're going to allow for bigger tires. That's also going to help with ground.
Oh, it's all going to come together really cool. And you were talking about bolt-on stuff. First, we need to unbolt some.
Well, I'm going to take this rear trailing arm, and I'm going to go to the back, and you guys get started in front on the A-arms.
Right. Okay. First thing we need to do is take this front cover off here.
Yeah, this whole grill assembly just kind of pops off with a few bolts, and this allows us to get access to this upper A-arm bolt that happens to be about 6 or 7 inches long, and the only other way to do it, I guess, is drill a hole in the front of this, and we don't want to do that.
No, no cutting, no drilling, just bolting and unbolting. All right, getting this part up here, and hey, Tommy, how's it coming back there?
Well, Kathy and Nate are up front doing the front end. I'm going to do the back here. I remove the tire, and I'm going to give you a shot of what we're going to do to raise the ground clearance in the back. This lower radius rod, as you can see, we're going to replace it, and look at the ground clearance it's going to create by having the hump in the middle of it here, and look at the difference in size. Not only is it going to give you more ground clearance, but look how much stronger it's going to be. And if you happen to be out on the trail and break this, you can't put a new end on this. You have to buy a whole new rod. Here you could replace the end, but I don't think you're going to break this. Look how much bigger this is. So we're going to take out these bolts here, put a new trailing arm on it. So we're going to have to remove the shock, the sway bar, and then bolt up here. We'll put a new trailing arm in it and a new radius rod right here. It's pretty simple. It's all bolt in, no brackets, nothing has to be cut. Unbolt everything and put the new in. Going to remove the shock. Now, one thing you will have to do, you're going to have to take the rivet out, take the brake lines loose from this, but also this little guard on the shock that comes from factory. We'll swivel that around. Some guys take it off, but you can turn it around the other direction to make sure there's enough clearance on the new trailing arm.
All right, this off. Looks like you're ready to take that whole thing off there. Move this out of the way.
Pull this other tire that we've already got loose here.
Already got that one off, ready to go. All right, so once we get this off here,
Yeah, so we can pull the upper shock bolt off here so that we can remove the upper and lower A-arm assembly. And
You guys make shocks too.
yeah, so besides building components like we're working on today, which
Right.
is the plus forward A-arm assembly, we'll also revalve and respring the stock shocks, and then we have our own shock line that's called Exit Shocks. And those are actually custom built for racers and recreational riders to their own specific specs. So if they're hauling a whole bunch of extra weight, or they're on the racetrack and they're wanting something that's a little bit more aggressive than comes on the car factory,
Right.
you can do that too.
All right, I'm gonna get a hammer so we can get this out of here.
All right.
Or you can just do that. All right, we're gonna get this off and check in and see how Tommy's doing.
Before we drop the shock out and take the bolt out and drop this trailing arm off, I'm going to go ahead and drill out these rivets to detach the brake lines from the old trailing arm. Once I get the other one off, we'll pull this trailing arm out. We'll be right back after this break.
This edition of Performance TV, presented by Low Car Performance Products, is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. B&M Performance, quality performance products that work. Bruin Brakes, made in the USA, certified. Omni Cruise Universal Motorcycle Throttle Lock. And by Hurst, America's #1 shifter.
All right, our nuts off back here. So we've got everything unhooked. We just need to start pulling the rest of the bolts out and get our shock.
So we've undone this lower shock mount here.
Right.
And there's a couple of rivets
Yeah, I
to
was
hold
gonna-
these brake lines on.
Looks like we need to drill these out.
So just a cordless drill and a 3/16 bit, and you can pop the head of this rivet off, and that's a good thing to remember.
Now, do you supply new rivets with your kit?
Yeah, new rivets are supplied in the kit, so they can just simply take the old rivets out, put the new rivets in, and hold their brake lines in the factory position. That's really the beauty of this kit, is everything bolts into the factory position, so there's no modification that has to take place. As long as they got a drill and a couple of hand tools, they can get these parts off and back on.
Well, I've got the trailing arm all off. Everything's out of the way. We've turned the shock protector around backwards, give us a little more clearance. I'm just going to slide this new one into place and bolt it in. Simple as that. So I got the trailing arm all back in place. Going to bolt the shock back in, finish up tightening these bolts. Attach the brake line back here, and then we'll get started on this radius rod. But hey, Kathy, how you guys coming up there?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the bushings and everything out of the factory and go ahead and put them over into our new stuff.
Yep, so the stock bushings will just come out if they're in there a little bit tight. Grab a pair of pliers and pop them out.
Okay.
They're just going to slide out of the stock arms, and then they'll slide right back into ours. And another little feature that is on our lower A-arm that I need to mention is they have these little spacers, and this is to adjust caster of the actual spindle, which with
That'll
this
change
car-
your steering then, won't it?
Yeah, so this car has power steering, so based on where you put this spacer, it's going to move that spindle more upright or lay it back more, which will speed up or slow down the steering. So if you have a non-power steering Polaris RZR, this is a handy feature.
Oh yeah, you're gonna make it drive a lot nicer. We're also gonna take the grease certs out, change those over too.
Got the trailing arm all installed, everything's tightened back up. Now I want to replace this radius rod right here. We're going to go with a bigger, heftier, and give us more ground clearance. All it is 2 simple bolts, here and here. Now when you install this new radius rod, you can see right here there's an O-ring in this bushing. When I cut this tie wrap off, I'll put a little lube around there just so it slides in a little easier and you don't pinch the O-ring installing it. while I put that nut on, I think they're about done up there in front. Let's check back in with them.
All right, well, we have all this on here, and boy, I tell you what, just by moving this 2 inches forward, we didn't have to cut anything. It was all bolt on. Look, we're going from this 12-inch wheel and tire, only 27 inches tall on this tire, to be able to put a 15-inch wheel. And how tall are we on these tires?
It's a 32-inch tall tire, so we're able to put this on without modifying anything, and this is going to give you a lot more ground clearance and a lot more life. These automotive tires are a lot tougher, and they're built for a heavier weight vehicle, and it allows us just to bolt these on.
And they're going to last a lot longer. And, you know, your cost is not that much more for the length of life you're going to get out of this.
Go big or go home, right?
That's right. That's what we like to hear. Check that out. Simple modifications, 32-inch tall tire on this. That's just amazing.
This week's ARP quarter-mile quiz question comes from Tank in Texas. Tank wants to know, when was nitrous oxide first used in racing? Here's NHRA commentator Bill Stevens with the answer.
Now, how cool is that? A guy by the name of Tank is asking about nitrous oxide. I get it. Anyway, nobody really knows when the first race car used nitrous oxide, but if you go back far enough, during World War II, fighter planes had nitrous oxide fitted in their engines for extra power during dogfights. But I can tell you that back in the early 1980s, there were several professional racers in the nitro classes that were experimenting with nitrous oxide, guys like Billy Meyer and Don Prudhomme. But it became a safety issue. Nitromethane, nitrous oxide, that's a little sketchy. So the NHRA and the IHRA, in a rare example of cooperation, decided that they would outlaw nitrous oxide in nitromethane cars. So who was the first one to use it? Nobody knows. However, in the nitro categories, we can tell you that the NHRA and the IHRA put a stop to it in the fuel classes. And Tank, thanks for your question.
If you have a question for the ARP quarter-mile quiz, send it to the address on the screen. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive a free ARP quarter-mile quiz shirt. Performance TV, presented by Low Carb Performance Products, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Performance TV. You know, there's a lot of Mustangs out there on the road. One of the very popular applications that we have to show you here today from B&M Racing is for the Mustang and a lot of Ford applications, 8.8-inch differential cover, or as I like to call them, rear end covers. Now, this particular one, this is part of B&M Racing's Cool Tech line. One of the first things you see here, of course, you have the substantial cooling fence on this. We all like to get rid of heat, whether it's the tranny, the rear end, or up in the motor. The other thing that we're going to see here as well on this pan, compared to the one that Tommy has taken off back here, we've got a drain plug, and we've also got a place in here to be able to put the fluid in as well. And something else you're going to find with this cover from B&M are the bearing cap support bolts. This is going to make this a whole lot stronger. Now, I've already got them installed in both sides, so once we put this cover up on, we'll be able to snug them in and get them all tight. And Tommy, how are you coming back there?
I'm just about to get this one off. Got all the oil out of there. Got the bolts out. There we go.
Something else that we're going to be able to do with this B&M cover that we couldn't with the factory one is a little extra fluid capacity. All right, instead of a gasket with an application like this, we're just going to use a nice thin area of RTV. And of course, Tommy, that's what you've been doing over there, is cleaning off the old.
Yeah, you want to go in here and clean off all the old RTV that was on here. Make sure you got a nice, good, clean surface so we got a good seal. Maybe a little brake clean just to touch it up a little bit. And make sure it's all clean and ready and nice. It's got a little bit around here on the bottom yet, so I got to get that off. Some of the old residue, but looking pretty good.
This then through there. Now, another nice feature of this B&M cover would be its magnetic drain plug. That way, you know, when you change out your fluid, you'll see if you have any problems going on. You'll be able to catch them a lot earlier. I already have the Teflon tape on, which is something you want to do not only for the drain plug, but Tommy's got the place where we'll fill it all ready to go too. But we're not ready to put that in just yet.
I don't think so. I want to get it put on there and get it nice and tight and sealed up first. We'll snug that up once we get it on.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
There you go.
And once we get it put on there, we'll use these bearing supports, the cap supports right here. We'll run them in until they touch, and then we'll lock them into place. We just got them backed out for now. You know, grab me a socket.
Here you go. You want to start with this just to get you going?
I'll get a couple of them running here with my fingers and then tighten them up a little bit.
Okay.
We'll get them all started before we tighten them down.
There you go.
You want to go ahead and tighten up all the bolts for the cover, get them all in there and get them tight, get them snugged up before you adjust your cap supports right here.
Absolutely. We actually had to back these out just a little bit to be able to put them on.
Somebody had them in too far.
Oh, well, I took a guess.
Getting a nice little bit of silicone coming out of the edges so we know we got a good and sealed.
Yep. Now all we need to do is
Put some oil in.
put some lube in there and we should be good to go.
Don't forget to tighten up your drain plug first.
Okay. You want to find out more about this B&M Racing product, this Cooltech differential cover, all you have to do is hop on bmracing.com, and we have another project coming up next on Performance TV. This week's industry update, Tommy, we are going to be able to load things a whole lot easier thanks to the tailgate extension links that we have.
Yeah, so you get a factory truck, and the tailgate doesn't decline, it actually has an incline to it. So when you're trying to load basically, say, a lawnmower or a motorcycle, this creates a high point here from your ramps, and you can bottom out. We're going to drop this tailgate down, give ourselves a little better angle,
Exactly.
not high center, and it's something very simple from Ryder tailgate accessories. These cable extenders, they extend this cable down from the stock factory position. This truck here, about 3 inches, we're going to drop, and it's super easy to install.
Yep, you can do it yourself. Just use your hip here, or sometimes it helps you get somebody to hold it up on that side.
And it's something you don't have to have on all the time. You can put these in your glove box, and in just a few seconds, you got them installed. And look how much it drops your tailgate.
Lots of different models available. All you have to do is hop on their website to find out more. And man, this is a really cool item just to help give you a little more incline.
This edition of Performance TV, presented by Low Car Performance Products, is being brought to you by WeaponX Performance, the most trusted name in late model aftermarket ignition performance. Exado, extending the life of your vehicles and equipment. Savant Strong Made, producing quality ATV and UTV accessories since 1985. Do More Truck, everyday truck users get it. And by Ryder Tailgate, making your tailgate a more useful tool.
Welcome back to Performance TV. Walking in, figuring out what in the world you doing over here, Tommy?
Well, Kathy, Rick and I here have been putting a Millennium big bore kit on this Polaris RZR all day.
Yeah, nowadays with so many people, the ATV and UTV market growing the way that it is, people want to have a little bit more than their friends do. So where there's options at Millennium, we can plate back to factory bore. This is actually the block that came out of this unit, and we can repair it if there's damage in it to repair it back to factory bore. But we can make it larger in 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil is the larger bore that we're putting in here.
And Raleigh, favorite saying, there is no replacement for displacement.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely
yes.
true.
So, and pistons and everything that came out of this RZR over here.
Yes, these are all stock. We put a JE piston in our kit. Like I said, we have several different sizes of kits, kind of a mild to wild type thing. You can go 1, 2, or 3 mil in the stock casting. But of course, once you get too large, well, there's certain boundaries with the stock casting. So at that point, we make a really large. This is a 5 mil over. So for the guys that really want to go fast, this is the biggest you can go for the RZR 900.
Okay, and you know, if you don't have the 900, there's some guys that are playing around, having a good time with their 800s.
Absolutely, 800s. You know, the guys that are out there that took the leap at first, they bought the 800, and now they think they're a little envious of the guys in the 900. But we can actually make the 800s compete with the 900s. We've got a big 5 millimeter over, the same numbers pretty much. You can go 1, 2, 3 mil over in a stock casting in the 800, but to go any larger than that, you go 5 mil over, and that's our billet blocks for the 800 RZR.
Okay, well, you mentioned earlier, like on the kit that Tommy has been installing over here on this 900, that kit came with JE pistons. Now, say I just want to take mine off send it into you guys and have it done. Can I get my own pistons if I wanted to?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things that we like to do at Millennium is to give the customer options. If there's guys that they're more of a loyal fan for a different piston manufacturer, that's completely up to them. They could send it in for us to do the overbore. We could, whether we're just going to plate, they could build their kit themselves. We could supply whatever components they need. If they just want the gasket and they want to supply their own pistons, that's completely the customer's choice.
Well, Millennium, you guys do all kinds of different stuff. Can you give me an idea of some of the other things besides what we're seeing here?
Absolutely. We're actually a pretty large family of companies, but Millennium Services, we do nickel seal plating is at our core. We have other companies that are other divisions under the same umbrella. We have Revolution Performance. We do nickel seal plated big bore cylinders for Harley Davidsons, pretty much all Harley Davidsons in multiple sizes. We have ballistic performance components. We have little lightweight batteries that are about the size of a pack of cigarettes and weigh about the same all the way up to an automotive battery that weighs about 6 pounds. So you could lightweight batteries are the way to go. Lithium Paris phosphate is the technology. We have forward motion engines, which is pretty much specific to off-road, two-stroke engine application services, tuning, building, et cetera. And then we have RBI engine services that is pretty much any engine service for all power sport applications.
Wow. What can we expect to see difference-wise? How big is the difference going to be in taking this stock out and putting the new Millennium kit in?
Well, you're definitely going to have a larger smile. So the biggest thing is the amount of bugs you're going to have to pull out of your teeth when you get out of this thing.
I see.
So it is a significant difference. To truly utilize all of the larger displacement, of course, there are other options that Millennium is building kits for tuners and pipes and intakes and things of that nature. So to really utilize the maximum potential for the displacement that you're adding to it, there are other options and things that, once again, the customer can choose those options himself.
Well, Tommy would hurry up and get this thing done. I'd like to put my foot in it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Don't worry. This is not a 5-minute project, but we're getting it. Before you get too excited about your ride, we've got a little bit of work here yet. We got to put the exhaust back on it, the body work, all the interior back in, all the body work here on the back. So it's not going to be just a few minutes yet, okay?
Okay.
We've
well,
been working.
This thing have headlights? Because I'd like to at least go out sometime before the day's over with.
We'll make that happen.
Okay, well, unfortunately, you're not going to get a chance to see this one completed, but if you would like to complete your own project, you can go to mt-llc.com. That's all the time we have for this week. See you next time on Performance TV.
This thing's going to be bad.
I know, it's going to be awesome.